Teddy, darling. Teddy, would you like to come and introduce everything with me, please? That's it. Come closer. Can you come closer? Yeah, good. Well done. Okay, so do you remember how this goes? It goes, hello and welcome to Pet Talk with me, Anna, and you remember your name? We usually say your name at this point. Can you remember? That's it. It is indeed Teddy. And we have a very wonderful guest today. Can you remember his name? We talked about him earlier. Yeah, can you remember his name? That's right. It is Nick Thompson, who is a holistic vet. Welcome, Nick.
Hey, Anna, how are you doing? It's great to see you guys.
Oh, it's lovely to see you. And I think Teddy was asking because he only knows one kind of vet. He's never met a holistic vet before.
Oh.
So, what is a holistic vet?
Uh, an holistic vet is somebody who looks very broadly at any condition. That is to say, if you go to your conventional vet, and conventional vets do a lot of great work, but they have a very narrow toolbox. What we do in the holistic world is we have a much broader toolbox. My personal toolbox, it relies upon conventional veterinary medicine, but also homeopathy, acupuncture, nutrition, and supplements, and very much on nutrition, natural and raw and fresh nutrition. So, if you take your dog with a lameness to the conventional vet, they will give you possibly some, say, some Medicam, also a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, and send you on your way. I'm assuming it's not a very terrible lameness, and that it's fairly acute, and the dog is fine, and there are no other symptoms. But if you went to the vet with that kind of presentation, it would be fairly, dog is slightly lame. Let's give a painkiller, anti-inflammatory. This is the dose. This is for how long. Come back and see us in a week or so, and then they would go from there. And from a holistic perspective, we would, if all the lameness warranted was some supportive care, then I would, like the conventional vet, say, right, well, maybe keep the dog on the lead for a bit. And here is a homeopathic or a herbal product which might enhance the healing process. Thing is, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories that we commonly use as vets, as conventional vets, they will just reduce inflammation, reduce pain, which is not a wrong thing to do. In fact, it's a great thing to do in many cases. But they do not enhance the healing capacity of the limb, the joint, the muscle, the tendon that might be, slightly injured. And what we try and do is we're trying to enhance the healing ability. If they do need a painkiller, we would be turning to the likes of, say, boswellia, white willow. If we were looking at homeopathics, then rutagrave or rustox or arnica or bryonia might be quite useful. If, however, the problem was a repeated problem, we would be spreading the net a little more broadly, and we'd be saying, how about we consider some osteopathy, some chiropractic, some acupuncture? How about we look at your shiny floors if this is a repeat injury because you've got shiny floors and the dog is injuring themselves? We would look at the diet to make sure that the the building blocks for good, strong muscles and tendons are as good as they possibly can be, and we would have a conversation about ultra processed, kibbled and canned food. and maybe we'd be looking at bringing in supplements to see if we can improve musculoskeletal health. So with that, pretty broad view of things, it's a oops, it is a it's a way it's a kind of a microcosm of looking at that holistic veterinary lens. There was a guy, a lovely old vet 20 years ago who was called Carvel Teakert. What a great name. Yeah, if you're going to be choose to be called anything, Carvel Teakert has to be a good one. And he was the chairman of the American Holistic Veterinary Medicine Association, and he kind of summed it up and said, "Holistic." He's American, but I won't give him an American accent. He summed it up and said, "Holistic medicine is anything that works." So I think that's that's pretty good.
What I really love about the holistic approach, and you've outlined it, you've said lots of different tools at our disposal, but the aim is to support the body in the healing process. And I
Yeah,
think, that is such a fundamentally important thing to do. And it's not really just about dealing with the symptoms, and getting to the root cause so that the healing is complete. Um, so I feel that that's hugely important. So if somebody presented, like for instance, Teddy at the moment has got I'm not sure in fact what it is, but he has an inflammation on his paw, and I assumed it's a flare up from his allergies, although I'm now beginning to question that.
uh-huh.
So that's a kind of real life issue.
Great. Let's have a look at
What
that.
do
Let's
that?
have a look at that. Okay. That's a probably an even better example than mine, Anna. So well done you. Okay, so the first thing the holistic vet would do, and it would be possibly similar to a conventional vet, would be to get some history. So, give me some details. Teddy, he's a he. Is
Yeah,
he neutered or is he entire?
he is neutered.
He is neutered, and what age is he?
So he is 10 and a half.
He's 10 and a half. Okay, that's really important with many disease processes. And um, you mentioned about his allergies very
Yeah.
briefly. What's going
So,
on there?
well, when he was coming up to be one, he had inflammation in his paws, and we thought it was grass seed.
Right.
And he was treated for that with antibiotics,
Yeah.
penicillin specifically, and then it would heal, and then it would start. It would heal, and then it would start again.
Aha. Right.
And eventually, after about 3 months, it morphed into ear infections. At which point, I was told, okay, well, in all probability, this is allergies.
Yeah.
And so we had a radical turnaround with the approach to everything, in that his food became very pure, as in I don't buy um, dog food as such. And I started to cook for him, and I also stopped doing anything chemical, any kind of chemical treatments. Everything is
Okay.
herbal.
Yeah.
So for the last 9 years, we've been good. We've been clear and learning more. I've introduced raw food into his diet, so
Uh-huh.
I'm not cooking for him so much. So he's got a really good diet and
Uh-huh.
really good life, and he is a happy, healthy dog
Okay.
until this. And this was a, is a has thrown me, because I thought, okay, well, maybe he can handle beef now.
Uh-huh.
and I fed him some beef back in September. There seemed to be no problem. Fed him beef
Okay.
this time, and it could be that it's a coincidence and that that's not the cause, but we have a flare up in his paw.
Okay. So, let's just go back to recap because it's very easy to kind of wander down avenues. And this is always my first consultation is 45 to 60 minutes. And people think, oh, great, we can have a little chat. And absolutely we can because there's a lot of really useful information in that kind of less pressured environment. But at the same time, it's very easy to disappear down a rabbit hole. So, he had allergies of some description that were not diagnosed at that time, but the only major intervention that I'm hearing is that you took him off ultra processed food and you put him onto either a home cooked fresh diet or raw food. And since that time, he's been fine. Is that about the size of it?
Yep, 9 years of
Okay.
no problems.
Okay. So that would suggest that if his problems originally, there's a lot of ifs in these kind of conversations because I haven't got his history. Normally, I would have his history and I'd have lab results and I'd have you filling in a questionnaire and we'd have some, as soon as we started the consultation, I would have a lot of background information with him. But so we are assuming he had allergies because he may have just had a one-off flare because of something, but the major change is you change the food and he's been fine for 9 months. So on the face of it that
Nine
looks like,
years. Oh, yes. We changed the food.
yeah.
9 years he's been fine, not 9 months.
Oh, sorry, did I say 9 months? I meant 9 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did hear the 9 years. Okay, so for 9 years he's been fine and the only major intervention was minimizing pharmaceuticals and to keep him away from ultra processed food.
Yeah. And
But
stick to what I didn't mention is that we did have blood tests. And
okay,
so,
for
so we to check what he was allergic to.
aha, the plot thickens.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry. And so it eliminated heaps of different types of food. So the only proteins he can have are duck, pheasant, and in the fish category, he can't have anything from the cod family and he can't have anything from the tuna family. So salmon's out. Basically he can have things like pollock, sea bass, and he can have he can also have sardines, pilchards, anything from that sardine family, sprats. He can have all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And so I've been, very creative in what I present to him that's not on the list to avoid. And we've been fine until
Okay. I'm
this.
just going to just stop you there for a second because there's some really important points that you've made. So basically, you change the food and he hasn't had a problem for 9 whole years. Okay, that's the first point. Because I get presented with itchy dogs all the time, and I think only about 20-30% will have that kind of turnaround. Okay, will be because it's obviously food is likely to be causing the problem in the first place. You couldn't say for sure, but it sure looks that way. Now, the second point you said was you've had food sensitivity testing, and you've got a very impressive list of what he can and what he can't have, which would be very, very impressive, except for the fact the test is not reliable.
So I
So,
hear.
yeah. So you say he can have this and he can't have that, and I would dispute that. And the only way I would be able to investigate that would be to do some food trials. And what you do is you just bring in a teaspoon of a protein that you were trialing. Excuse me.
Bless you. And that's exactly what I thought I would do.
Ah,
And so back in September, I actually before September,
yeah.
I've I've been giving him little bits of beef here and there, and he seemed.
Okay.
And then in September, I gave him 2 or 3 meals because it seemed like it was a safe thing to do. And
Okay.
he was fine.
With beef.
With yeah, just raw
Just with beef.
raw.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we're
And
looking at the big picture, he hasn't had beef and he's been fine. And then you start with beef, fairly small, I would imagine, to start with. And that's escalated over time. We're now, here we are, 12th of Feb. Uh, and he's got flares again.
yeah. And
Okay,
that,
so it could be beef. So number one, it could be beef. It could be that he's developed a bit of pollen sensitivity and he's really sensitive to one of the really early pollinating plants. Okay, could be that he's developed house dust sensitivity or indoor molds sensitivity, and it just looks like it might be the beef. And this is the journey that we go on when we're investigating these guys who've got itchy feet or itchy ears or itchy belly or IBD or whatever it might be. Okay, so I think that in his situation, it's really nice that you have a specific case because I think people watching can look at it and go, "Oh, my dog's doing exactly the same. Oh, I've had the food test and my vet says we can do this and we can't do this," and they're not wrong, but we just look at the limitations of any given test. So there's a bit of a coincidence that he hasn't had many foods for 9 years. He's been fine, and then all of a sudden he's gradually getting more, and he's getting itchy feet. Okay, so I would suggest stop the beef today.
oh, it stopped immediately. And
When? When did?
it's
How long's he been off?
oh, he's been off since the weekend. So
Okay, great. It
yeah.
could take a week or two, as long as he hasn't got secondary infection. If he has got secondary infection, then I would be definitely uh, keeping the feet as clean as possible to try and reduce secondary infection. Infection is almost always secondary to skin being unhappy. And so you've got to look for the primary reason. And I have to say, and I'm going to say this for all your guys watching, that wheat, beef, and chicken are the most allergenic of all the proteins I come across. Okay, so and everybody, and you're not alone here, Anna. Everybody goes for beef, and it just happens to be the one of the most allergenic. I.e., if you had choose a protein that's going to most likely cause the problem, it's beef or chicken or wheat. So I would suggest stop the beef, and if his problem resolves over the next 2 weeks, you may or may not have to clean his feet. And obviously, if you're worried, then get him checked at the vets because it may be that he's got a thorn in his foot, or he's had a scrape on his foot, or one of these 20 other reasons why people can lick their feet.
Yeah, it the secondary infection I think is definitely there because it's I've managed to reduce it. I've been putting some lavender oil on, and that reduced the inflammation almost
Okay,
immediately.
okay.
Still there, and I'm looking at it thinking, is this going to go away? So it's just interesting, isn't it? Because the process that you're going through is, real detective work.
It's Hercule Poirot. It's just saying, it couldn't have been the butler because he wasn't in the dining room when the murder was done. Okay, so but he's out. Okay, Miss Scarlet, she was in the dining room, but she doesn't know how to use a revolver. Therefore, she's out. It's exactly that process. Yes, yes, yes. And the thing is, it was Cluedo, wasn't it? I've been prowling around the Cluedo house with itchy dogs and IBD dogs and what have you for the last 30 years. So it's easy for me to jump to conclusions as to whether it was the dining room, Miss Scarlet, whoever it might be. Whereas you've been at home thinking, oh, I wonder what it is. And this has come up and I put some lavender and then it's gone down and because what I tend to do with these things, I tend to be in a really gentle, compassionate way, pretty definite when I make a change. So what you've done is you've put something on which will cleanse some of the foot. I would be looking at absolutely cleansing the whole of his foot, you know. So if the if this is his foot, if the redness goes up to here, I'd be cleansing him up to here. Yeah,
Yeah.
not there. You know, so you basically just have to overdo compassionately and gently and nicely. You've got to overdo everything because you have to be certain in order to make steps forward. You have to be certain that something worked or it didn't, because something in between is like a it's like a stepping stone that's a little bit wonky. You're not quite sure whether you want to step on it. But if you've got really firm stepping stones, you can either make progress across the river or you can retreat and not fall in the river. You can retreat, look at your other options for really secure stepping stones, and you can maybe take another route across the river. And that's quite good. So thank you for helping me explain what I've been doing for years and years and years.
I thought it was a good opportunity for everyone to see how you work, because when we go to a conventional vet,
Yeah,
also, that's a bit of detective work too, because
it
they're
absolutely is. I'm not doing anything different from them.
exactly,
It's
but
just I'm looking at things much more broadly
exactly.
because I'm looking, I'm saying, well, would this be an acupuncture case? Or I would be thinking, I'm not really happy with my patients eating ultra processed food, whereas vets are trained at vet school that kibble and cans are absolutely fine. In fact, they are the way to responsibly feed a dog with a science formulation. So they come out of vet college supporting Manchester United and not really being very familiar with anybody else in the first division. I don't even follow football. I don't. I'm sure Man U are in there somewhere, but you know what I mean. If you're trained on Man United, you're clueless about Arsenal and Sunderland and whoever else is in the first division. Yeah, I bet you don't know anything about football either. Is that correct? There you go. So we're both clueless. But you see what I mean.
I
If you
do.
know a lot about Man U, and you know nothing about the rest of the first division, or it's Premier League now, isn't it? If you know nothing about the rest, then your ability to navigate the Premier League is narrow.
Yeah.
Whereas with a holistic vet, if they've done further training in acupuncture, herbs, supplements, food, they know everybody in the Premier League, and they will say to you, well, yeah, Manchester United, that's exactly where you want to be, because I've looked at all the rest, and Man U is for you. Or they'll say, no, West Ham is much better, but you need a dash of Arsenal. That's a really good analogy. I've never used that analogy before, Anna. So
Well, it
thank you
works.
to you and Teddy for for taking my mind into places that I've never gone before. I use 1,000 analogies because I think they're quite good. I like pictures, and so yeah, that's so. What is holistic medicine versus conventional medicine? Holistic medicine is the entire Premier League, and conventional medicine is a really excellent team like Man U, but it is just Man U. So yeah, thank you for that. I
Well,
appreciate that.
well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because we can see how your brain is working, and you're thinking an analogy, and analogy indicates,
And
uh,
just for clarity for people who are watching, I'm thinking in analogy, not an allergy.
that's right.
Just to differentiate, I think really clear communication is really
Yeah,
important with these cases, you know?
but
Well,
that just shows, because when we think in that way of
yeah,
metaphor, analogy, what we are actually demonstrating is a, a way of thinking that is about making connections.
yeah, it's very much.
And making connections
Yeah,
in a broader sense, perhaps,
yeah,
than somebody whose training is to look at the symptoms and
yeah,
to address the symptoms. And I think that that's the difference, I think.
yeah,
And you're demonstrating that just in the way that you're thinking.
Okay.
and that you're illustrating what
Mm.
it is that you do. So you
Okay.
mentioned that the importance of unprocessed food, and I think I would hope,
Oh, well, all food is processed. Even if you
yeah,
pick an apple off a tree, it's processed. Even if you're a caveman and you take a flint and you cut a bit of mammoth flesh, that's processing the mammoth flesh. If you want, we can talk about processing because I think it's really, really illuminating, actually.
we're
But
really
if you've got other places to go, that's fine.
what we're talking about is ultra processed food.
Well,
And
yeah, which is different
I
from
think that,
processed. Yeah, yeah,
and I think that when we're talking about ultra processed food,
yeah.
many of us are beginning to get the message that it's not a good idea for us humans, but somehow it seems that it's okay for animals. And of course, you're
Yeah.
like, no, it isn't.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing that there's a blind spot. I have had people who take, supplements till they're coming out of their ears and they will only eat organic and they're very rigorous with what they put in their own mouths and yet they will continue to feed kibble. And that's not through ignorance. It's just through 50, 60 years of uh brainwashing, if you like, that first it was meat and biscuits, and then the Americans invented kibble, and that hit the UK in kind of 70s and the 80s, and now that is the default way of feeding food to dogs because it's so easy. You just go plink plink, walk away, and the dog is fed. Okay, so it's as far as convenience is concerned, it scores a big tick. But as far as I can make out, usually the more convenient things is the bigger the downside somewhere along the line. Okay, generally talking about whatever phones, mobile phones, for example, and I can't remember what I was going to say there.
Convenience,
Yeah, convenience. But how did we get into convenience?
because we were talking about the advantages of kibble, which really
Oh
are
yeah.
convenient.
Okay. Yeah, and then we were talking about processing and not. I'm just going to give you a 1 second, well, it'll be more like a minute. Just there are four types of processing. Okay, comes from a guy called Monteiro, who's Brazilian, and he was really worried about people eating loads of rubbish food in the poorer parts of Brazil, and he set about trying to work out, yeah, what's good food, what's bad food, and he divided all food into four categories. Okay, you got category one, which is very low processing, to category four, which is ultra processing. Okay, so let's describe. So we've got category one, two, three, four. Pretty simple. So category one is the stuff that comes from the farm. That can be an apple, it can be grain, it can be meat, it can be whatever it might be. Okay, it's minimally processed. Bearing in mind, picking an apple makes it that is processing because you have detached mechanically, willfully, the apple from the tree. Okay, so category one is essentially no processing, but it's actually minimal processing. Okay, category two, Montiero, he describes category two as being the kind of ingredients that you will find in the average kitchen, and so that will be. So if we're talking about, let's talk about apple pies. Okay, so the common ingredients that you will find in most modern kitchens will be, yeah, there'll be flour and there'll be butter and there'll be salt and there'll be eggs and there'll be maybe a bit of cinnamon and whatever else you might use, to bit of milk. Okay, they're category two. So not very processed, but they have seen the hand of man a bit. Okay, so category one, category two. Category three is if you make something from category one and category two, like an apple pie, that's category three. Means you put some work in, but you haven't used anything chemical, you haven't used additives, emulsifiers, or any industrial processes to make it because you can make it in the average kitchen. Yeah. So you got apple, kitchen ingredients, apple pie, category one, two, three. Only when you start using big industrial processes and chemicals and ingredients like meat and bone meal that you don't find in the average kitchen do you get into category four. And that is well recognized now, and it's becoming even more recognized. You know, the Americans have changed their prioritization of ultra processed food now since January the 6th with RFKJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, actually, ultra processed, not so good. Better to eat. It says, what's his strapline? Just eat whole food. Yeah, he's not saying it's okay to eat junk food, but don't eat too much. He's saying, no, eat whole food. That's kind of his strapline, isn't it? Eat whole food. So that's it. So that's a way for people to get their heads around this. I was introduced to this in maybe 2018, and it took me forever because nobody broke it down into the four categories as simple as that. Apple ingredients, apple pie, hot apple pie from a junk food store.
That is very clear. And so, what does that look like when we're looking at dogs? So, we know that kibble is ultra processed.
It is. By
And
definition, people I've heard seen vets online and go, well, everybody says kibble's ultra processed, but our kibble contains real salmon. I'm sorry, you don't know the definition of ultra processed. Go and look it up. It's really easy. You know, nowadays with Google and AI, you can find out those definitions really, 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 really quickly. So kibble is utterly ultra processed. Cans are, in most cases, category four. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you look at the ingredients list, it tells you straight away. Not to,
Yeah.
when it comes to kibble,
Yeah.
it's the process itself. It's denuding any life because it's dehydrated and there's full of chemicals. So we've got this issue, and
Yeah.
people say, "Oh, but it's really good quality kibble."
Yeah, it's like saying good I'm going to be fine. I smoke really good quality cigarettes. Sorry, doesn't wash. Doesn't wash. You're spending money on high quality cigarettes, but they're going to kill you at the same time. You know, exactly like cheap cigarettes.
So I find it much easier actually to feed Teddy raw. It's really easy.
It is.
We're very afraid because we've got this thing about bacteria, and
Yeah.
I was concerned about feeding him raw because I was worried about his immune system because of the allergies.
Okay.
And but actually he's absolutely fine. And apart from the fact that I gave him beef apparently.
Yeah, beef is one of the most allergenic, and that was the one that everybody plums for, and you plumbed for it, and that's just bad
Yeah,
luck. It's okay. So withdraw. Yeah.
and I did it for very practical reasons
Yep.
because we've been moving around,
Yeah.
and I'm concerned about not having access to duck and venison.
Okay, they're easy to get hold of if you just needs a bit of planning. But
Exactly.
there are ways around that. There are
Exactly.
ways. I have these
Thought, well,
conversations.
after all this time, and working with the idea about leaky gut, perhaps, hopefully he's got over this, and I might be able to reintroduce a little bit here and there
Of which? Of beef?
of beef. And
Okay, forget about beef for at least 6 months.
I'm
Don't even utter the word beef for 6 months, you know?
exactly. What I was going to ask is, so if people are wanting to feed raw,
Yeah.
what would you recommend in order to ensure that the dog is getting a well-balanced diet?
Okay.
Is it okay to just feed meat or
Mhm.
fish? Or
No, categorically not. No.
okay, so that's the question.
Okay, this is a really easy one. I've actually done a video. It's called Raw Food: The Basics, and your guys can find it on my website, holisticvet.co.uk. If you were able to put a link, people say there's a link in the notes. If you were to put, so it's on my website, you'll find it. It's called Raw Food: The Basics, and it does what it says on the tin, which is a strange thing for me being anti ultra processed food to say, but it does what it says on the tin. I think that was originally referring to cuprinol or something, where the paint does what it says on the tin, as opposed to another food, a dog food brand, which says this food will make your dog bright and healthy. But going on from historical niceties, so that is a really easy one. And in the video, it's about 2.5 hours long, but it just takes you through. It takes you from zero to hero in raw food in one fell swoop. Okay, it's in 10. I know the new one is about 14 separate sections, so I don't want to explode your brain by doing it all in 2.5 hours in one evening. You can just do 10, 20 minutes and then stop, make some notes, whatever, and then 10, 20 minutes the next night. So it's like it's digestible, which is kind of nice. However, in that, what I'm saying is don't try and do it on your own. Yeah. When you first started driving, you had your friend or your dad or your mum or your uncle helping you to drive. When you first riding a bike, you had stabilizers or somebody to hold. When, think of any new endeavor, you rarely hang gliding. You don't just jump off a cliff and hope for the best. You do training on the ground, you get used to it. Do the same with raw. The easiest way to do it, and this is a really, really easy lesson to finish on, is find a, a good, responsible raw manufacturer who knows what they're talking about. You can give them a ring, and if they don't want to talk to you, I'd suggest don't go near them. So you give them a ring, and if they're giving you good information and they're open and they can answer your questions, and you decide to try some of their product there and they support you in that, then I think you're good to go. You're going to say to me, what are good brands? And I'm not going to say any brands, because I don't want to favor one brand over the other. Look at the ratings and reviews and go for those. That's a good place to start. Ask your friends, ask people in the park, and that would be my strong, which is a really easy way. A lot of people say, "Oh, I'd love to start with raw, but I'm really terrified." Well, everybody's terrified. Get over that one. But there are people out there, I would help you, but you've got to pay me. Whereas the companies, they'll do it for free, which has got to be a good thing. Okay. So have a look online, that you look at maybe the top 10 Google offerings, give them a ring, see who you like the look of, have a look at the food online, maybe order some, see if your dog likes it, see if the price is about right. Yeah, if you've got 20 Rottweilers, you're going to have a very different price point from if you've got a Chihuahua, you know? So, and if your Chihuahua's really fussy, then they might like one brand, but not another. Or they might like one brand and only like this and this and this in that brand. Okay. So lots of options. Keep it simple. Have a chat with the manufacturer. If you want your hand held, check the video. Otherwise, it really is quite easy to do. People are terrified they're going to kill their dog, and then they go and feed themselves for the month while they're deciding whether they can feed their dog or not. There's a disconnect, Anna, between our confidence in feeding ourselves, our families, loved ones, and feeding our dog. And that is because I think it's been undermined by a drip, drip, drip of information to reduce your confidence in feeding a dog. And the watchword is variety. If you feed a variety of good quality, well balanced meals to make up a diet, you can't go far wrong.
And that is one of the reasons why I really wanted to to speak with you because I I am very aware of the reluctance that's out there to address
Uh-huh.
the issue of nutrition for our
Uh-huh.
and I know how absolutely vital it has been to keeping Teddy healthy. It,
Well, you may have proved that point,
it
and I hope you have. You just
yeah,
withdraw the beef, and I hope he's right as rain in a week or two.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I his allergies, not
Yeah.
you know, well, nearly 10 years ago now,
Yeah.
are the very thing that set me on this quest to learn about nutrition.
Amazing. Kicking and screaming. Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's, and that means that I have a dog who is happy and healthy.
Yeah.
And it's when I tinkered to discover what my limits were
Yep.
or his limits were that
Yeah.
I've now got a flare up.
But
And
I
so
think it's appropriate to push boundaries, but
it,
just um, to do that very carefully. I think that's the trick, which you were doing, and you have gone to the edge, and you we're not really happy with the result. So basically,
yeah,
just back off the edge, stop the beef, allow him to settle, clean, make sure the foot becomes clean and dry and healthy, and then you start again. I would suggest something like, so you say he's on duck already, so venison is often good, and rabbit is often good, and pork is often good. Fish he's already on, and goat can be quite good as well. But talk to your raw food manufacturer,
yeah.
and you're good to go.
So I just want to say thank you so very much for your time today. It's been an absolute joy to speak with you. And I want to just let everybody know your website again.
Bless you. Holistic, it's very easy. Holisticvet.co.uk. That's one vet, not 20. Holisticvet.co.uk. And you can find there's free videos there. You're welcome to those. We've got a shop. There is my 3 courses that I'm doing, and you're welcome to have a wee look at those. And that would be great. And I just want to say thank you very much for you guys, you and Teddy, for talking today. I really appreciate it. It's been great, and you've uncovered some really nice analogies that I've never used before. So 1,000 thanks to you both.
Well, it's a great pleasure, and I'll be sure to be putting the link in the description box. In the link, you will also find my Substack, in which you will find the occasional story about the Mummy and Teddy adventures. Until next time, goodbye.